We're talking on fibroid. It tells us you're a third-time survivor. Could you give us, in a nutshell, exactly what happened?
Sometime in 2001, but they were really tiny. I had a routine scan done, and the doctor or the sonographer said that, oh, you have some fibroid, but there's nothing to worry about. Speak to your doctor. They will prescribe something for you. So I went to see my doctor, and the doctor said, well, they're really tiny. You really don't need to do anything about them. Just leave them. Let's watch and wait. So that's a watch and wait strategy. And then a couple of years after, I think that was in 2005, I developed, heavy bleeding during my period. So I went back to see my doctor, and the doctor said, oh, well, the fibroids have actually, grown bigger, and they're more now, and so you need to do something about them now. And that thus began my journey. And, I was bleeding profusely during my periods. It was very heavy, very painful, and basically that was it. So I had my first surgery, needed a second surgery, and then I needed a third surgery. And that was when I realized that, oh my goodness, this is a tough one. Yeah. Yes, that's my story, basically, in a nutshell.
Yeah, so when you, sorry, I don't know, do you have kids?
No, I don't have any yet.
Okay, because, yes, okay, the reason why I asked was when I was pregnant with my first child at the hospital, they said to me that I had just really small, fibroids, and it was fine. But I often wonder if someone who was about to have, if it stops people from having children. I guess I should have checked.
I'll let the doctor answer that.
Fibroids per se is common, as you rightly said. The time when it becomes a problem with fertility is if it's distorting the inside of the womb, the uterus, where the baby should be, or if you have fibroids that are compressing the fallopian tube. That's the tube where the egg and the sperm meet. So if you have fibroids around that junction, either on the left or on both sides, then it can obstruct the passage. So those are the types of issues where you can have difficulties with fibroids.
Many people worry about the symptoms. What was your experience like having fibroids, and how did you feel? At what point do you think you got worried? So that people that are experiencing it and they've heard before that it was probably not a big deal, maybe they should start getting worried about that too. That's for you, Oyinkan.
So I started getting worried about my fibroids when I started bleeding heavily during my period. So I went from using a pack of pads to 2, and then it went on to about 3, and then 4. And I realized that it was really bad. So I would change my pads. They were really those thick ones where it's almost like you have a sandwich like that. And then within 15 minutes of sitting down, I had to go and change. And it was like that, back to back for 5-7 days. It was really, really, really bad. So when I started bleeding excessively during my periods, I thought that was a problem. It didn't seem normal to me. And then I also developed, a bit of, tightness around my stomach region. So, when I wear my skirts with bands, I just felt like it was very tight around there. And, my stomach had become bulky as well. It had become protruded as well, where it looked like I was pregnant.
What is the cause? We've heard many times that, it comes naturally. Women just develop this fibroids. Is there something we do that can make it more, make us more susceptible to getting it?
There's nothing an individual can do to prevent or to minimize the risk of fibroids. We do know there's a genetic basis to it. It's commoner in people of color, Black people. White people do get it, Caucasians, but it's commoner in Black people. And so it's possible that there are some genetic factors to it, which we don't know about. And that's because not much research has been done into it. But one of the other issues that can arise is if one delays fertility. Yes, you may have tiny little fibroids, but when you don't have your family as early as you should be, the fibroids start growing and growing. And what people say, which is more of a myth or an old wives' tale, is that the womb is pining to carry a baby. And because fertility is not occurring, the fibroids then appear. I think that's an old wives' tale. And again, menstruation is not something we talk freely about. And I think we should encourage our young ones that menstruation is a normal process and they should feel free to talk to their parents, to their mothers and sisters about it. There's no way we can quantify how much is a heavy loss. What is heavy for somebody might be normal. They might just think, well, it's just part of life. It's just part of being a woman. So I think it is important that we educate the young ones about menstruation.
Okay.
If it's getting too heavy, you're having too many clots, then there'll be a need to find out why is that happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Most doctors tend to say, oh, well, it's part of life, you'll get over it. But perhaps if a young person has the scan early, we might be picking up the fibroids much earlier than we do.
Right.